1 month to go in the pennant races. Managers find it hard to keep their cool. The Yankees come into the stretch running full tilt. The Royals set the pace in a 4-team battle for first place. The Rangers circle the bases twice in a row. The Reds keep running with all they've got. But the Dodgers break loose with a sudden burst of victory. And Lou Brock finally steals a piece of history from the Georgia Peach. Fast-moving headlines and highlights coming up next on This Week in Baseball. September pressure, day in, day out. Who'll be in, who'll be out in those wild American League divisional races. Let's take a look at the contenders and some of their key players, well-known and not so well-known. In the East, the battle rages among the Boston Red Sox, the Baltimore Orioles, and the New York Yankees. The Yankees forged to the front recently with contributions from many. As predicted, a couple of guys named Reggie Jackson and Thurman Munson had a lot to do with it. After Jackson moved into the cleanup position of the batting order, the Yanks won 17 of 19. Others have contributed to the spectacular surge. Center fielder Mickey Rivers has never been hotter. In one recent spurt, he got 13 hits and 17 at-bats. He isn't stealing bases like he used to, but he's knocking in runs as well as scoring them, all from the leadoff position. But for Rod Carew, Mick the Quick would be fighting for the batting title. Pitcher Ron Guidry has been a pleasant surprise. Several months ago, the flame-throwing youngster was virtually unknown, but now leads Yankee starters in strikeouts, shutouts, and earned run average. But above all of the Yankees, Greg Nettles has been the most productive. The brilliant fielding third baseman leads the club in homers, RBIs, and runs scored. Forget that low batting average because Mr. Nettles is a run producer. If he keeps it up in September, the Yankees could be mighty hard to catch. In Boston, Fenway fanatics look up to Jim Rice. Rice has been the most consistent bat on the club this year. He's a .320 hitter with 33 homers. 3 of those came last Monday night against the Oakland A's. Here, a Rice double sends Carl Yastrzemski to third. Add George Scott and his 31 homers, and the Sox have the top 1-2 power combination in the league, and there it goes. Boston leadoff batter Rick Burleson sets the table for all those big guns with base hits like this. We asked Rick about Boston's biggest surprise, Butch Hobson.
Well, Butch has come a long ways. He had a little problem with his footwork early last year, and he's worked on that quite a bit, and he's turned into a tremendous offensive player, and he's just doing an excellent job.
Boston fans certainly agree, Rick. Hobson has taken the league by storm. The young third baseman is fast becoming one of the best sluggers in the game. He's hit 26 homers. Surprisingly leads all Beantown belters and runs batted in. With time running out, the pressure grows on Hobson and the Red Sox to bring home the run. The surprise team of the East is the Baltimore Orioles. Ace right-hander Jim Palmer hopes to regain his early season form and pick up some clutch wins in the final days. The Birds are full of surprises. Different Orioles keep perking up at the right time to do the job. The latest, rookie second baseman Rich Dower, who began the year with a horrendous slump, but since his bat has come alive. Hits like this keep the birds flying. This triple was Dower's 7th hit in a row. Outfielder Andres Mora really has the knack for making his swings count. His first 37 hits drove home 34 Orioles. Of course, switch-hitting Ken Singleton has been the big man in Baltimore this season. He's established himself as one of the league's top players. And put this under your cap. Batting right-handed, Ken is hitting over 400. A fascinating team, these Orioles, so don't count them out. 4 teams scrambling for the title in the American League West. But the defending champion Kansas City Royals have the edge in the standings and in experience. Like the Yankees, the Royals were stampeding in late August with George Brett leading the way. He's again hitting 300 as expected, but he's also shown more power than ever before. Yes, Kansas City doesn't fret about a fella named George Brett. Al Cowens is this year's Royal surprise. His added power and dramatic improvement at the plate is one reason why the defending champions could be tougher than last year. Another reason is more run production from Hal McRae. He isn't hitting for his high an average, but he leads the league in doubles, his team in runs scored, and he's having a big RBI year. Although thought of as a designated hitter, just watch, McRae can play some mighty good outfield. Just watch this play. He's out. No question, the Royals are the team to beat in the West. Chicago White Soxer Richie Zisk spearheads the most surprising team in the West, the Swinging Sox, a club full of bats. We asked Richie about Chicago's chances in the race.
The White Sox have a ball club that's, I think, unique unto itself in that we can score some runs at the drop of a hat. A little bit more consistent pitching and will be a constant threat the whole year.
As the Sox search for pitching, they go on blasting the ball. They all can hit, but Oscar Gamble has supplied as much power as anyone. Despite being platooned, Gamble has crashed 26 homers, giving him an eye-catching average of 1 homer every 11 times up. And that's mighty hard to top. Firepower in Chicago. Every contender needs a bullpen ace, and Laren LeGros is Chicago's. LeGros is one of Bill Beck's bargain pickups, and he's proven to be the right man at the right time. He's saved 20 games and must continue to stop those late-inning rallies in order for the Sox to win the tough ones in September. The Minnesota Twins come down the stretch with the league's best player, Rod Carew. He's never had a season quite like this. Headed for career highs in batting average, doubles, triples, home runs, RBIs, runs scored. And slugger Larry Heisel is also having a sensational year, leading the league in RBIs with well over 100. And here he brings home 3 more. The biggest Minnesota surprise has been pitcher Tom Johnson, who's filled the bullpen vacuum left by Bill Campbell. Johnson leads all Major League relievers in victories with 14, and his saves even outnumber his wins. When you're after a pennant, those are figures that really count. The 4th team to get into contention in the West was the Texas Rangers, and it took 4 managers to get there. The final selection was Billy Hunter, and he knew just what the problem was.
The club is kind of a conglomeration of people from various organizations, and they really haven't had a whole lot of time to work on fundamentals as a team.
So work they did. Bert Campaneris and Bump Wills now stabilize the infield of the league's best defensive team. Watch Wills. And now take a look at Jim Sundberg behind the plate. Toby Harrah leads the Rangers in the power departments. This swing adds to his home run and RBI totals. He's also tops in runs scored. While primarily known for his hitting, Harrah made a successful transition to third base this year, allowing Campaneris to fill his old spot at shortstop. First baseman and leading hitter Mike Hargrove has been used in all 9 spots of the batting order this year, but leading off seems to suit him best. He's led off 6 games with home runs. September is going to be a mighty hard ride for the Rangers and everyone else in the wild horse races of the American League. Here's a game for the fans. It's fantastic. Watch. Mike Schmidt slams one to left, and it's gone downtown. And that homer opened a thriller between the Philadelphia Phils and the Cincinnati Reds. The Big Red Machine is still trying to get in gear in the Western race. And Joe Morgan's the man to shift the gears and bear down in the clutch. It's gone, and the game is tied. The Reds won the first game of the series, but knew they needed a sweep to stay alive. The Phils forged ahead 3-2, so Morgan decided to ignite the machine again. He takes off for second. It's a bad throw. Morgan gets up and keeps going. On his way to third, and he makes it easy. Ken Griffey's the batter, but Morgan can still rattle. Just watch. A wild pitch. And Joe eases home with a tying run. Both teams scored to tie it again. Now it's the top of the 9th. 2 Phillies in scoring position. Richie Hebner the batter. This drive looks deep enough for a sacrifice fly. The throw to third is a little bit late. A run scores to give the Phils a 5-4 lead. Now it's the bottom of the 9th with the Reds down by a run. Ken Griffey leads off. And he's safe at first. A good break for the Reds because slugging George Foster is next. Nobody out. Power at the plate, speed on the bases. We're ready. And the pitch. Strike 3. The throw to second. Griffey is double. How about that? Suddenly it's 2 outs, nobody on. And Dan Dreesen is the Reds' last hope. And watch what happens. There's a long drive that looks like trouble for Philadelphia. Off the wall. And Dan Dreesen might try to go all the way. Here comes the throw. And here comes Dan Dreesen heading for home, and he's safe. Mike Schmidt can't believe it. Just like that, the game is tied. The fans are delirious. It's still 2 away, and Tug McGraw must now face Johnny Bench. And the pitch. And there it goes. Going, it is gone. 1 inside the park, 1 outside the park, and Cincinnati wins a big one. The Reds went on to sweep the series, making the race tighter for the first-place Phils in the East and keeping themselves alive in their desperate pursuit of the Los Angeles Dodgers in the West. And speaking of the Dodgers, manager Tom Lasorda and his boys can rest a little easier now because they got back on the winning track this week. Don Sutton and his teammates kept the St. Louis Cardinals and Lou Brock grounded. Davy Lopes charges the ball and gets Brock at first. Lou had trouble getting on base against the Dodgers the regular way, so this time he thinks about using his speed as he tries a bunt. Now watch Steve Garvey at first base. Ah, what a play! Although Garvey's glove work around first base was near perfect, Steve had been mired in the worst batting slump of his career. But against the Cardinals, things would change. The winning run's at third. It's the bottom of the ninth. The Dodger All-Star gets ready at the plate. Check of the runner. And the pitch. A line drive to right. Mike Anderson makes the catch. Bill Russell tags up the play at the plate. Safe! A big win for the Dodgers. The first RBI for Garvey in over 3 weeks. Later in the series, Garvey really broke out of his slump and broke the Cardinals' back. In one game, he crashed 3 doubles and 2 homers, won a grand slam. His 5 hits drove in 5 runs, and he also scored 5 runs. 5 for 5 for 5. So give him 5, Steve. Hats off to Garvey. And Steve tips his cap in return. One of the great joys of baseball is that there's always room for disagreement, no question. Now, that's a great play, but as it comes down to a photo finish, one manager's bound to have his say. And so this week, we salute all those angry managers as we watch them at their Major League best, head-to-head with the umpires. All right, now back to action from the players. The Texas Rangers tied a record this week that was rather strange. Toby Harrah lifts a long fly ball toward the seats in right. Lou Piniella goes back, leaps, can't hold it as he hits the wall, lays stunned on the ground. 1 run scores, while Harrah scores 2 for an inside-the-park homer. That's unusual, but watch this. Bump Wills on the very next pitch, tags one to deep center. And now it's Mickey Rivers chasing the ball. He gets a glove on it, but doesn't get the ball. And Wills flies nonstop. The relay comes in, but Wills races right on. The Rangers get back-to-back inside-the-park homers. Only the second time that's ever happened. And now to something that's never happened before. Since the legendary Ty Cobb retired in 1928, his career record of 892 stolen bases was considered untouchable until Lou Brock started running after it. This week, the 38-year-old superstar made history in San Diego. After walking, he took off on the first pitch, and he swipes number 892, tying him with the Georgia Peach. That set off one celebration, but later in the game, there was Brock again, running on the first pitch for a record that was his and his alone. And there you see it. His teammates came pouring out, and suddenly everybody just had to congratulate the man of the hour. The crowd went wild, and the game was temporarily halted. The Padres' Randy Jones awarded Brock his historic base, and then Lou spoke to the fans.
It has not been an easy thing, but the moment is here. And all I can say, looking back on it, Randy, I did it my way.
Great going, Lou. You're the recipient of the Gillette Special, the greatest base stealer of all time. And thanks for making that time our time.